Thank you for joining my show today in Emerge. I am Paula Echeverry, and today I'm with a very special host. She's Jeanne Andrus, and she's one of the hosts also on Phoenix TV, but I saw she is an expert in menopause. And of course, that relates to what we speak, and, we love the neuroscience, and she loves the menopause, so we thought it was a really great opportunity to share something about, menopause and neuroscience. So, but we need to dive in the menopause, to know what it is, what symptoms, all of that, because there's not much information online. There are things that you can access, but unfortunately, doctors, they don't actually really tell you much about it when you go to a doctor. When you ask about, friends or family, it's just very random things that they tell you. So we really want to dive into this thing. And I'm so happy, Jen. Thank you for being here. And you can introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do.
Hi, Paula. I'm Jeanne Andrus. I'm the Menopause Guru. I've been working in this field for a little over a dozen years, where I started out as a health coach and personal trainer after my own trip through menopause, through perimenopause. And I started realizing just how important it was to understand what was happening to us and what we could do about it from the standpoint of supporting our own bodies through it, not necessarily through pharmaceuticals or hormone therapy, but by natural holistic means that we could actually improve our experience of menopause and turn it into from something that a lot of people's, the groups are out there on Facebook, menopause misery, help my, I actually do a seminar called Help My Hair's on Fire, because we think of all the bad things that happen to us. But I really love the fact that this time of our lives moves us into a space that I call menopause magic, because it really is something that we can really benefit from and move into a time of our lives that's just amazing. So, want me to dive right in with what menopause is?
Well, let me ask you a question, because when you said that's actually the media actually demonizes menopause, Like you
Absolutely.
said just now, it's so funny to see that when you just mention menopause, people are like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. But it's actually just a stage of a woman body, like we go through many stages through our lives, have our periods, we have babies, we have this, we have that, women, they're used to all these, things in life. We're not like men. We have to adapt to changes, all the time. And I think menopause should be, a way it's actually an opportunity, to enter in a new phase, and just, just really enjoy yourself. And, because in this age that normally people go into menopause, 40s, 50s, well, late 40s, 50s, women, they have a different perception in their lives, they're more relaxed. They're more like just want to enjoy life more, and they want to, just be themselves. They're tired of being, there for
Everything to
people.
everybody.
Yeah.
Let me start with fixing a misperception that you have, that most people have, and that is that menopause is something that starts in the late 40s and goes through the 50s and 60s, that it's something for either middle-aged or old people. Perimenopause actually, for most women, begins between 38 and 45.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it's what's happening is, as your body, your women are born with all the eggs that they're going to have, all the ovum that they're going to have in their ovaries already. And that's it. You don't get any more. They don't, they don't create after you're born. They're actually all created before you are born. So we have about 1 million of them when we start, but
Wow.
throughout our lives, they disappear. Nobody really can say why they don't get to that they don't hang around, but they do disintegrate over time. And usually if somebody were to actually go back and study those disintegrated eggs, they are genetic material that is not viable. They're trisomes, or they're not going to be able to make a baby. So the ones that stay start to mature over time as with their I'm having a try morning time, right? Okay, so the pituitary gland produces hormones that trigger eggs to start to mature, and when they get to maturity, another hormone is released from the pituitary gland that says release the egg. Sort of like a release the Kraken, I guess, but not quite.
Yes.
And so over the period of time, there are eggs maturing. When one matures, all the rest that are sort of at that same stage die off and disintegrate, unless you get the oddball fraternal twins or fraternal triplets, or hormone fertility drugs are involved, and you get a whole bunch of them. So what happens is we get to the some point in our late 30s, mid 40s, and our body is running out of viable eggs. So not every month does an egg come to maturity. And when that happens, we don't actually ovulate. The egg that would have ovulated disappears. And so we don't have an ovulation. And when we don't have an ovulation, the hormones, progesterone and estrogen, are not produced in the same quantities that month.
Okay.
Now, does this happen every month? For most women, this is going to happen once every couple of months, every 4 or 5 months, for the next few years of their lives. So from the time they're, say, 38, this is going to start happening here and there, depending on a lot of things: their own personal history, how many pregnancies they've had, how much time they've spent on hormonal birth control. All kinds of things are going to factor into how long that happens and how often.
Yes, and then some women actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you, some women go early because they get, some surgeries to remove, stuff that, and they start menopause early,
Right, but this is even for women who are going through it naturally, that this is a normal process.
Yes, correct.
So for me, the first symptom I figured out years later was my first symptom happened when I was 43. I got seasonal allergies for the first time that spring. I had never, been around oak trees all my life, been around pine trees all my life.
Yes.
All of a sudden, I was sneezing like crazy one spring.
That's such an odd symptom. Like I seen the list of symptoms, and that was,
and you'll never see that one. You'll never see that one. But allergies are known to change at times of large hormonal changes. So puberty, girls will develop or lose allergies at puberty. Pregnancy, postpartum, and perimenopause, and then again at postmenopause, those allergies change because our hormones are changing and saying different things to our body.
Yes.
Okay, so it goes on and it becomes more and more frequent until you get your last period. And the only way you tell that it was your last period is you go 12 months without one. And that 12-month day is the official date of your menopause. And menopause lasts one day. So what's all the big fuss about, right?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
the big fuss is about perimenopause,
Yeah.
which is loaded with symptoms as our bodies change, and postmenopause, which is our bodies learning to adjust to the hormonal profile that we now have.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
so why all the symptoms? This is the other big thing. Estrogen, so women and men have evolved differently because of different biological responsibilities. Women bear children, nurse children, raise children. Men fertilize eggs and hopefully bring home the bacon. And so I talk a lot about anthropology and what life must have been like for our remote ancestors thousands and hundreds of thousands of years ago. And women had the responsibility to raise the children, and they were likely to be pregnant, nursing, or caring for toddlers most of the time. So they would get pregnant, they would have a baby, they would be nursing a small infant, and they would nurse for years.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Even in biblical times, it was typical for a baby to nurse 2 to 4 years. So they were not able to put that baby down and go hunt something that might take 2 days to run down a deer or whatever. So they were likely to be around the camp and dealing with camp type chores. So our bodies created this way of differentiating the kinds of tasks that women had to do and the kind of
Yeah,
tasks
exactly.
that men had to do.
Biologically, we're determined, by nature
Right,
to do
right.
things like.
So estrogen and progesterone became the main triggers for women to be able to do all kinds of things that they needed to do in order to live the life that and thrive as a community and take care of babies and raise babies and increase the tribe. Men use testosterone for the same thing, to become straight line hunters and out in the wilderness trying to bring the food back. So we created this differentiation based on hormones. So here we hit menopause, and the hormones that have been driving a good deal of our behavior and a good deal of our sense of who we were go down, way down, 10% of what they used to be. Boom. Now, the trick is that every cell in our bodies has evolved to have estrogen receptors. Not every cell in our body has receptors for every hormone, protein, whatever.
Yes.
But every cell in our body has receptors for estrogen. So estrogen makes women's bodies work better, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And the other piece is that all our other hormones, not all of them, but most of them, are also pointed towards estrogen for saying, okay, how do I work? How well do I work? So, for example, insulin works better at its job in the presence of estrogen. Your thyroid works better in the presence of estrogen. Cortisol, our stress hormone, is modulated. It's damped down, so our response to cortisol isn't as sharp or as steep in the presence of estrogen. Even testosterone works better in women's bodies. Women have testosterone, it's made in our adrenal glands, and it works better in women's bodies in the presence of estrogen. So all of these things, serotonin, dopamine, ghrelin, leptin, all of these things work better when estrogen is present. So after menopause, our bodies aren't working as well as they used to. Now, does that mean you can't be in glowing health after menopause? Absolutely not. It means you need to take better care of yourself. It means that you need to maximize the ability of your adrenal glands to produce residual estrogen and progesterone. It means that you protect your ovaries, because your ovaries are still producing a little bit of trace estrogen and progesterone. So what we want to do as women is support our bodies through this period of time, and you can continue to thrive and really be very healthy, and even more healthy. For me, I didn't put much into my health while I was too busy with a job,
Yeah,
community, and my son, and all of those things were in the way of me being the best me possible. And when I turned to being healthy in my late 40s, and I lost considerable amount of weight, and I learned to run and love to be in the gym and exercise, and I learned how to take my stress levels down. I learned how to sleep better, which all of which is what I teach my clients, by the way.
yeah, exactly.
No,
I
I
think
don't
that
necessarily. Only
exercise.
if they want to run. I have to make that very clear. Only if you want to run will I teach you how to run. But I do teach exercise, and I do teach nutrition, and I do teach sleep and stress management in order to maximize everything that your body has at this time. And
So
that's
how
what.
do you, let me ask you this, like
Sure.
you're saying now, there are different ways that you can, you can do things with menopause, but there are women who have no symptoms pretty much, and there's some women who are like extremely hard symptoms. So there are two types of women there. So I think there are women who don't need to go to HRT, hormonal replacement therapy, right? And some women, the only option was that because there are all these supplements in the market that they claim, we can do this and that, but, their lives are a mess. So they might have to go into HRT. But, or should there's a supplement in different ways through shots, as, all these things. But we don't know what's going to happen, right? So with those things, of course, they're drugs, and our bodies can react,
Right.
good or bad to those things. So woman now, like I said, doctors are not giving you much advice and many things to do, and they're just
Correct.
telling you, oh, you have this symptom. Oh, no, don't worry, because there's
We'll
no
give you a
real.
pill.
Yes,
We'll give
there's
you a
no
pill.
real test that tells you you are, you are premenopausal. Like so many women are being diagnosed with all these other things, and their doctors are giving them all these drugs, or even like for mood, because they're premenopausal, but they don't know they are. So, there needs to be a better system to detect,
Oh, there
why.
sure needs to be a better system.
Yes, so that's so amazing because I just learned about all these things because I've been seeing some changes, in my body, of course, and been kind of, studying this because, okay, I study neuroscience because I have mental illness. So I have to
Right.
study now menopause because I'm going into it. I
You're
think
going into it.
the more you know, the better. But there are not many resources now, so we need to do this. And also, there needs to be a lot more research and things that we
Oh,
get women to diagnose better menopause, and things that they're not just supplements, that they claim that are going to help you.
yeah.
So
So
that's a
let's talk
problem. But if you don't want to go in HRT, then what do you do?
first of all,
If you have
not all women can go on HRT. If you have a history in your family of breast cancer or uterine cancer or ovarian cancer, you don't want to go on HRT because the estrogen will it will
contribute, yeah.
increase your chances of getting
Oh,
cancer. It also increases endometriosis. So if you have had endometriosis, estrogen, it feeds on estrogen. So when you take estrogen, it's going to create a problem. And there are
yeah.
people like me who don't, I don't know my medical history to a large extent. But also I don't like taking pills.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a few because I have hereditary heart disease. So, I mean, I have to take a few things for that,
Yeah.
but I prefer to manage everything as naturally as I possibly can. So that means, can I get through what I need to, can I manage the symptoms through natural means? And the truth is, it's a continuum. There are women who will wake up one morning and they'll notice that they haven't had a period. Maybe they track, maybe they don't. They haven't had a period in a month. Okay. Okay. So next month goes by, next month goes by, next month. And they walk away and they say, so when is this menopause thing going to happen to me? And back when I was first starting this, I literally talked to a woman who said, so when am I going to go through menopause? I said, so what are your periods like? She says, oh, I haven't had a period in 3 years.
Oh my God.
She was one of those, number one, lucky few that don't have a lot of symptoms. But number two, she was incredibly, she was a mindfulness practitioner.
Awesome.
She kept her own stress levels low. She lived in the Pacific Northwest of the US, sort of in a rural area, in a gorgeous area. And so she didn't have some of the stress that somebody in an urban setting might have, of that daily commute through traffic and
Yes, exactly.
crazy job.
That plays a difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
So
your environment, genetics. Yeah.
she had everything going for her. So she walked through it, she waltzed through it. And then there's the woman on the other side of this who is miserable. She's angry at her family all the time. She's gaining weight. She can't sleep. She's got hot flashes. She's got itchy skin. She's got osteoporosis. She's got all that stuff against her already. And she's still having periods. Maybe she's having awful periods, or maybe she's having periods that last a month and a half. Maybe she's having periods that go away for 6 weeks and then they come back with a vengeance. She may need to go on hormones for a while.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
There's everything in between there. And the trick to me is, and we haven't kind of discussed what the true gift to me of menopause is. But the trick is, the less intervention you do with hormones and drugs, the better you're going to be. The stronger, the more healthy you're going to be. Because Western doctors, I hate to say this, because this is the way they're trained. Western doctors are about removing disease, removing symptoms.
Yes. Put in a band-aid, like I said.
Holistic
Yes.
medicine, holistic practitioners, of which I can consider myself one, from a health coach, and I add in Reiki and hypnotherapy and yogic breath work, and just a wild mix of stuff, none of which is medically trained, by the way. I am alternative completely. But the more of that stuff you put in, the healthier you become. So my goal with my clients is not removal of symptoms, it's glowing health. It's feeling fabulous in your body. It's loving your body again. It's being able to go run a half marathon or a marathon if you want. It's being able to jump out of a plane if you want. It's being able to be adventurous, to take hold of your life. So
Exactly.
the things that you and I started talking about were a lot about the way we think. And so let's get into that, because that's where the magic comes in. Cool with you? Is that good
Yes,
with you? Okay,
good with me.
so I told you every cell in your body. Well, your brain is full of cells, and those
Yeah.
cells have receptors for estrogen. And
Mhm.
some of those areas in our brains have specific functions. You know this from neuroscience. And if you happen to remember the names of these parts, I often don't. So, for example, we have two verbal centers. Our primary verbal center is on the left side of our brain, meaning it controls the right side of our body. Most people are right-handed. This is a highly developed center of the brain in both men and women. There's a secondary center, verbal center, in the right side of the brain.
Mhm.
And this is stimulated by estrogen. And it seems oddly enough to have control of a lot of nouns. So when estrogen goes away, this center of our brain doesn't work as well. It never works as well for men, which is why men don't remember names as well as women do. They don't. It also tends to trigger on faces. So,
Yes.
so it puts together names and faces. It also tells you what that hoojamajiggy that you need to cook the spaghetti. Oh, you know, the thing that you pull the spaghetti out of the, and you can never remember the name of it. I don't think it actually has. But all of these nouns, and especially proper nouns, tend to be stored for quick retrieval over in this right side of the brain. So estrogen goes away and we forget names and faces and nouns, and you wind up constantly searching for these words. It's not dementia. It's the way our brains work.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
another part of our brain is part of the forebrain. And it has a name, it has a big long name, I've forgotten it. But this part of our brain is capable of doing what I call cyclic serial tasking. It's actually, a lot of people refer to it as multitasking, but it really isn't. It's the way we handle tribal life. We go from, let's say we're cooking a stew. So we're cooking the stew. We have to maybe go get some more firewood. We maybe have to go check on the toddlers. Maybe we have to stop and nurse the baby. Maybe we have to check on our sister who is about to have her baby. Then maybe we have to check on some skins that are drying, and I'm talking 100,000 years ago. And then you come back to the stew and you go back and you circle around and you never lose where you are in the task. And this becomes, when we're in modern living, this becomes nursing, where you work in a ward and you're going around from patient to patient, and you never really lose track of what that patient's problem is and what that patient's next need is likely to be. And you go from person to person, and you can do that over and over and over again. It also works in secretarial work or teaching. Teaching is a huge example of this, where you go from pupil to pupil. And you know exactly where you are and which child is likely to need help at any given time. It's why women excel at that kind of work. It's, yeah, we've been pushed into it. Yeah, society doesn't value that work the way they value the surgeon or the engineer or whatever. But women did it because they're good at it. Because this part of our brain works to cyclic serial task. Estrogen goes away, and what happens? We look like guys. I pick on them. But they have been doing this forever. If they get interrupted in a task, let's say they're putting an engine together. If they get interrupted, you call them in to come to lunch, and then you say, "Oh, honey, can you fix that shelf for me right now? It just fell down." Now they go back to the engine and they have to basically start over, go through every step that they've been through in order to start again. We
Yes.
hit menopause. Oh my gosh, what was I doing? We wander from room to room looking for why we're there.
Yes.
It's not that we've lost it. It's not that we've got early onset Alzheimer's or dementia of any type. It's that our brain is now working differently and we expect it to work the same.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
now
That is a phase. We're going through a phase, like you said.
it's not really a phase because it's going to last you the rest of your life. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
But
So
if
that
you
doesn't go away, that part.
no,
Okay. Okay.
it just is here. And what you have to do is learn the strategies to deal with it, which some of it is I try not to multitask anymore. I'm in the habit of multitasking, so I do it. But I try not to, especially when it's something that's really concentration focused.
Yes, exactly.
I use a calendar. I used to be the person who never used a calendar. Never needed it. Now, if it's not on my calendar, and you
Oh
know
my
this
God, I
because
can't believe you got my calendar.
and you know this because I missed an appointment that we had that wasn't on my calendar. I had no idea. You sent
Yes.
me an email, said, "What happened to you this morning?" And I said, "Oh." And
It's
that's
just making things a little easier for you when you're going through that phase, so you don't feel
yeah.
so,
Yeah, you learn
anxious or
this.
stressed about, things
You
going
learn the
on.
strategy to concentrate. So where's the gift? These all
Mhm.
sound like, terrible things. Where's the gift? The other thing that estrogen pushes us to do is to be part of the tribe. And the tribe is very insular, by the way. The tribe is this big and it doesn't let anyone else in. So tribe is not necessarily a good thing in the terms I'm speaking of, because after menopause, we can create something different. But it pushes us to be a part of the group, because only as part of the group can we do our primary job, which is to raise children.
Yes, exactly.
And so a woman who is in her 9th month is not real self-sufficient, not in a primitive culture, not in a hunter-gatherer situation.
Yeah.
A woman with a less than 6-month-old baby too is not very self-sufficient. You can't put them down and go deal with food. You just have to, you have to strap them on and keep going. But you need your sisters of your tribe to help you get through raising children. And women back in those kinds of days would have 6, 8, 10 children, not all of whom would come to adulthood, but they would have years and years and years out of their lives.
Yes, exactly. Now it's shorter because you only have one or two. Yeah,
One
exactly.
or two, plus there's daycare centers, there's all kinds of ways of doing
Exactly.
it. But we still look for each other for support, for helping us through that. So what happens when it is that you're focused on this building of tribes, and the other piece of it is you're focused on making sure that man who's bringing home the mastodon is going to come back to you. So this whole people pleasing thing is built into our biology and our psyche. Now menopause comes along.
True.
It's another thing that's triggered by estrogen. So it's like clockwork. I see it all the time. Someone, just about once, twice, 3 times a week, I will see something on a message board or in my friends groups or whatever, saying, I just realized I've spent my whole life people pleasing and I haven't gotten anything out of it. And there's no reason to be a people pleaser anymore. And
exactly. Yeah. Would you call it midlife crisis?
yeah, it's like we all go through it. And well, maybe we don't, but most of us get to this point where we say, wait a minute, I need to do something for me. I need to put myself in the center of my own existence. And this is the gift. This is the gift of menopause, is that it allows us to take ourselves from the outskirts of our own life and put ourselves into the center. Now, that doesn't mean, and I say this all the time too, it doesn't mean you need to kick anybody else out. If you are a 45-year-old woman who just had a baby, that baby is not, you're not going to kick it out of the center of your life. Yeah. But you're going to be able to make decisions that come from a little bit different place. They come from a place where you have an independent value. And as that child gets older and older, you're going to be able to move more into your own value. One of the reasons that it's so tough in today's world is that women are delaying having children later. Mm-hmm. My granddaughter is 3. My daughter-in-law just turned 41, and I'm sitting here saying, yeah, you're going to regret this.
Yes.
She is in some ways. And in some ways, I have a feeling that Eliza's going to be so independent. She already is. That she is going to be her own person by the time she's 12. But we have to see ourselves as important to ourselves. And that means that we get to go back and see what we may have dropped out of our lives, what hasn't moved forward with us that we want to bring back. It means that we can take a look around at the world we're in and say, what is it that I want to do? So for me, I was lucky. My son was out of the house by the time I went through most of this. And I got to say, what's lighting me up? What's sparking me? What's fun? What's joyful? For me, it's joy, fun, adventure. What's good? And what is it that I want to bring forth into this world that's not about raising children or being a good worker or any of that stuff that was important to me when I was younger. I got to say, fitness is important, adventure is important, joy, play. And oh, by the way, one of the things that I became incredibly passionate about, if you haven't figured it out by now, is making sure that other women understand what's going on, what's happening, and how they can grab this time of their life for themselves and be an amazing person. So the Dalai Lama,
beautiful, because people see, like we just said, people see menopause in a different way, but it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to take control of it to stop the taboo that men see in it. And the reason that men see that taboo is that women stop basing their whole life around them.
Yeah.
And it's true that many women get divorced at this time. It is true that relationships. So I wrote a book for men that's based on the idea that men need to say, oh, my wife is changing. I need to understand how she's changing, and I need to help rebuild this relationship in whatever way it needs to go.
That's so amazing, because when I divorced, actually, I had a pretty big change too. I had a mental illness and some problems, physical problems. So that changed me a lot. I
Mhm.
went through a lot of changes. And, when you change, maybe, men expect us to be the same woman that they fell in love with. And sometimes that kind of just start
They're
growing up
not the same man we fell in
until it
love
happens.
with. So
But you
and
cannot be the same person. You have to
we
evolve.
have
You
to
have to
we
grow.
have
You have
to
to,
evolve and grow. And
yes.
I it's interesting because when
Yeah,
I wrote this
exactly.
book and put it out there,
It's funny
one guy,
because most people say, midlife crisis, divorce, and all of that. But no, really, there are many crises in life where you go through different things, and it happens. That you have to accept that people change.
and
I did,
people.
and he did, and we're best friends now.
Oh,
After
that's great.
yeah.
I'm glad you were friends. My ex, um, so
So
I wrote the book, and it's hysterical because there's one review out there that says,
yeah,
"Oh, but she says she got divorced." Yeah, because he didn't know any of that. And
yeah,
the
exactly.
that
That's
book was actually came out of a series of conversations I had with my present husband so that he would understand. And since the woman he fell in love with was my perimenopausal slash postmenopausal self, so there wasn't as big a shift, but he had to understand what I was going through too.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
so my book, Where is My Wife and What Have You Done with Her, came out of this series of conversations that we had. And some of the conversations are sort of
And
encapsulated
it
in
was
the
the name
book.
of the book, Jeanne.
The
I
book is
actually was
called,
not aware of this.
the book is called Where is My Wife and What Have You Done with Her? Because that's
Ah,
what happens is men wake up
that's a
one
great
day and
title,
their wife is saying, get your own breakfast, darling. Darling, darling. and
Darling.
and
Yeah.
we're no longer there to cater to him and his needs and the children and their needs. And so we start prioritizing what's important in our lives, and we say, okay, I have a kid who still can't drive, let's say, my 15-year-old still can't drive. So there's a priority here. There's a priority to get that child to the things that we've promised that child that they can do. So
Mm. Yeah.
are we driving to dance lessons or football practice or whatever that may be? But the husband, being home and being the 50s wife that's, standing at the door with the shaken martini, that's not going to be on the priority list. It may be on the priority list for us to instead go out for a run or go to the gym or go get a massage.
Yeah.
Whatever is important to us to make us feel like the vibrant, strong, independent woman that we are. And so at this point in our lives, we're moving into this state where we get to choose. And we've never had those kinds of choices before because our body was making the most of our choices. Now, again, the continuum thing.
Yeah.
There are women, and you know them. Um, in middle school, they decided they were going to be a doctor. They were not going to get married. They're not going to have children. And maybe they have two cats, but that's the way they've lived their life. There are women who all they ever wanted were the 7 kids that they had,
Yeah, exactly.
or 4 kids, or 2 kids, or 1 kid. All they ever wanted. Maybe they foster kids. Maybe that's all they ever wanted. They lived their life to make their world around husband and children. And honestly, there are women who go through menopause like that. My son's mother-in-law is like that. She lives for her grandkids.
Yeah,
I couldn't,
exactly.
if I were her, I couldn't live where I do because my grandkids live 1,800 miles away and I only see them a couple of times a year. They're important to me. I adore them. I'd do anything for them,
Yes,
but they're not the only thing in the center of my,
that's very important. Yeah, it's very good.
yeah.
That's very important. So, Jean, to close, this beautiful interview,
I know
I
we've
want
talked a lot.
we could spend hours here, and
There's so much stuff
I
that
I
there's so
wanted
much.
you to tell people where they can find you and all of that. I'll have your information listed in the video anyway, but I want you to just to tell people close and say where they can find you, what you can do, what you do normally.
So the easiest way to find me, the very easiest way to find me is on Facebook at Menopause Guru,
Yes.
or to email me at Jeanne, JEANNE, at menopause.guru. So it's
Good.
the
So
word
that's your
menopause
website too.
dot guru, GURU. And that is the easiest way to get involved with who I am, what I do. And I coach. I'm starting this winter. I'm starting a weight loss group.
Oh,
I
that's great.
teach. I have several books, not just the one for men. I have one for women and a couple of specialty books as well. And so there's plenty of stuff. Plus, on Phoenix TV, Menopause Matters, the TV show.
Exactly. I was gonna say that. You can find Phoenix
It's
TV.
been on hiatus most of the
And she
summer.
has all the stuff about, menopause, and then she has wonderful interviews like this one in there. So you
Yeah,
need to go there and see her.
as well as the same name podcast available on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast
Okay.
platform. Most of the guests that I have on the TV show are also podcast guests, so you can hear longer talks with them. The show has been on hiatus this summer as a result of a traumatic experience I had. Was in a car wreck that very fortunately had no physical ramifications, but plenty of traumatic.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it just it is what it is.
Yeah,
I
it is
learned a
what it
huge
is.
amount about trauma and energy release this summer as I went through it.
Yes, exactly.
It's going to be back real shortly, and I thank you so much, Paula. I know we've been trying to get
Great.
this
Thank you
interview
so much.
done for.
And guys, if you have any questions about the show or any other things, please email me, and you have my email or in social media. We're going to put both of us social media also in the show. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun.
Hello everyone. Today is a very important day and I want to talk to you about this because I've been very lucky to find something that you guys probably will like. I love neuroscience and I love women empowerment. Those are my two passions, I would say. And I've been just scrolling around social media. I found this product that I really liked because women go through so many stages in life, our bodies change dramatically through them. And the first stage, of course, is when we get our periods. When we're younger, we're little girls and our bodies start changing, right? We get all these hormonal changes in our bodies all the time. Like my little 13-year-old, she's going through all those things. And I see her and I just remember, when I was younger, having all those changes. And it's so funny, just to remember that. And it's amazing. But then we get married, if we get kids, we have childbirth, and that actually pregnancy and childbirth, they actually make so many more changes into
our bodies. Many things come up, from all these changes, mentally and physically for all women out there. So, and the other stage that women go through is after their 40s. They start to, go into pre and menopause and post-menopause after that. So I've been really thinking about that because I take my health very seriously, my wellness. And I try to prevent, the future things that could happen, that could be a problem in the future. So I try to, of course, I'm not perfect, but I try to eat healthy. I try to train my brain. I try to do all these things, that prevent, my body and my brain and, to be in the best shape that, that it can be. So, but, I love science. So I go out there and I don't try to endorse supplements or anything that, that is not really good for you, or that they claim that they have different things that we don't know if that's for real or not, and they things that they really work. So in my search, because I am 49, I'm not hiding my age, guys. So 49 years old, and I just, I've been researching about menopause, and it's really sad to see what's going on right now, that so many women, they go to their doctors and they ask them about menopause, and unfortunately so many doctors right now, I would say 99% maybe of the regular doctors would know, they won't know anything about menopause. And many doctors actually claim in social media, I've seen so many videos out there that we didn't have any training for menopause and woman changes in their bodies, and there's so many critical changes that they go in this phase of your life. So it's extremely important that doctors know how to address these. Of course, there are many doctors out there on social media speaking about these changes, and I follow a few of them that I will put in my post today. But I also want to talk about things, there's so many things that they said that they can be good or not for menopause or for the, pre-menopause symptoms. And I talked to the co-founder of UMA, and her name is Violin, and I really like her story because she told me she and her husband, they founded this company that they care about women and all these stages in life, because most women at this stage, at menopause mostly, they're being stigmatized, they're being taken down and they're being pretty much ignored right now, which is not good. So, and they made their mission, to help this woman, because her husband actually lost her mother also after cancer, and she said that they made their mission to help women out there because of this. So there are really, really cool things about this company. But I also want to say that they tested the products in clinical trials, and before they went into a market, they had the chance to go to, doctors and OBGYNs to check the products, and they're, tested that they were effective. So many doctors around the world, like 30,000 or more, this says on their website, and they have clinical trials, and they have all these, products that they help women in their stages of life. So I was so lucky to get my hands on some of these products, amazing. They have a few products online, but there's some that they're coming up pretty soon, but I still have them today. So I just want to talk about the main product, that is Harmony, this product that is amazing. And you can see the design is beautiful. It's a really cool box, and it comes about 60 vegan capsules. So when I talk about this is that I love the design. I love their label because, I love art and it's very artistic looking. But what I want to talk about this is also because these products are really working for, so many women around the world. And I want to try them out, because I'm still not in the menopause phase, but I might be going into that, in a few years. So I want to start, preventing things that could happen in my body. My mom, for example, was pretty lucky. She didn't feel anything. She barely had any, flares and flare-ups about, symptoms, but she just have very mild things that she could handle very easily by taking, natural products. So what I want to do is something, maybe similar to my mom, that she took some natural things and things that they were, work for her, because every woman is different. So many women, they will have pretty drastic symptoms in their lives, and because of the lack, of the hormones, they actually are, estrogen is going down in that phase. So we have so many problems with, brain things like anxiety and depression and, mood changes besides the physical symptoms. So I want to address this because it's really important. One of the things also that I saw is that the joints, joints are very important during this phase, because, many women claim that they have a lot of joint pain, their muscles and bones start to hurt. So this company also addresses those problems. And the other thing that they do address is the weight loss, because many women, they tend to, carry a little bit of extra weight in the abdominal area, and that leads to so many problems, inflammation, a fatty liver, all these things that they could happen. So we want to prevent all this. I'm all about prevention, you probably know that already. So I want to give you today, this special day, a code that you can use to get these products online, and thanks to me, you get a discount. And of course, I want you to try them on and see what you think, because they are pretty amazing. I'm also using the collagen, and because I think collagen is something very important also for muscles, for for many things that it really helps, not only for the beauty stuff, the hair and the nails that everybody knows. But one of the things also that I want to say is that the weight loss protocol, they claim they have lasting results. So that's something that many women want to know during this stage. And the joints, the mobility and all of that, that's so important during those stages. So I just want you to try this right now. Check my post right now about all these things that I'm giving you, and so you can follow this company and you can talk to them. And if you have any questions, I'll be having a new show next week about menopause, where we're going to have an expert who helps. She helps women and with menopause stages, and she's amazing. I'm gonna give you the preview pretty soon about that. So I'm gonna have the show tape next week. So I'll let you know when that's coming in my show Emerge on Phoenix TV. Okay? Thanks so much for being here. Talk to you soon. Bye.